We get ready to take a look at the markets today with the big focus on Ethereum. This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. Daniel, I appreciate that. I'm completely humbled. It's not just me. I just lead the team, and the team is absolutely incredible. I am surrounded by talent and really, really, really good people. Tether just printing $1 billion USDT on Ethereum. And we are seeing or getting ready here. That was the one condition over here, by the way, whether or not we would continue to see a leg up on crypto, whether or not more Tether was printed. We're seeing more Tether printed. We're seeing Bitcoin back above $100,000. We like that. Love seeing Bitcoin $100,000. There's talk. There's talk that the Donald wants the number to go up. That in the beginning, the first quarter of his administration, he wants to see a high number so that he could remember how he used to like talk about the indexes, the stock indexes. He'd often tweet about them, and as they rose, he'd be like, "See, that's there you go. I'm doing a good job." And now it's not only going to be the stock market, he's going to be using Bitcoin as a barometer. This train doesn't get started right now. Michelle is talking about crazy days. I'm just going to throw out there, just throw it out there out on X. It's not a bull market until the chatter becomes that Ethereum is going to flip Bitcoin. Let's start off this session today taking a look at what's going on with Ethereum. We saw yesterday one of the biggest inflows into Ethereum. We saw $305 million. The largest day being 428. Oh, 1 second here. I thought I just had to do a restart at the last second here before going live to get rid of some mic issues. Let me just bring up the pointer and then we'll get into the session here together. Boom. So the largest day, 428 million. And then we had another day, 332 million. By the way, seasonalities on Ethereum are a little weird. We have seen before, we have seen quarters. We have seen 2020, 2021. We saw 8 quarters in a row of green on Ethereum. Remember, Ethereum's time, Bitcoin leads, and then Ethereum takes the baton. Is it going to be any different this time? A lot of people look at the cross of Ethereum, Bitcoin. We're still waiting. So someone that is not understanding, let me help. I try to. The thing about the work we do here, it requires actually a lot of work. It's not just like mouth open, gawking, like, number go. Like, no, it's a lot of work, and the financial markets are very complicated and complex. Ethereum begins running when monetary policy begins to align. Right now, quantitative tightening is still running. If you go back into the last time quantitative tightening was running, Ethereum had not even bottomed yet versus Bitcoin. You can see over here. And then over here on September, this is when they stopped. This is when they stopped QT. And that happened to be where Ethereum bottomed versus Bitcoin. Is it going to be more of the same this time? This is when the Fed began their cuts. They cut 75 basis points. This is when they had to stop quantitative tightening. Is that going to happen again, or is the low in? Now, my instinct is that the low is not in. I don't know if that's correct or not. That's my instinct. My instincts don't matter. We follow like TA. If we break above this line over here, this would say to me, well, then likely that's a big buy impulse, and then there's a greater chance that the low is in. Once we break above the red line, and I think that eventually it happens, it's not a given. It seems to me that the talk that we're hearing, it's not even chatter. We just saw Eric Trump, Donald Trump's eldest son, speaking at Middle East and saying that his dad had what's the word he used? About the strategic Bitcoin reserve. He had made a commitment. I forget the exact words that he used, but it looks like that there's a strong possibility that the US may indeed take not only like be highly favorable towards Bitcoin, towards crypto, putting people in place that are highly favorable towards Bitcoin and crypto, making it known. They want to make it known that not only was the United States a leader in the beginning, that they're ready to embrace and open up innovation once again inside the US. They're making a statement. And if they go ahead and they do take a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and then you see other nation states, Russia now talking about it. We know Brazil is talking about it. Do you think China? I mean, China's already holding a large stack, almost equal to the United States stack. But if the United States begins bidding Bitcoin, what is China going to be forced to do? What are other nation states going to be forced to do? And I'm not sure that that would be the time that we would see other cryptocurrency. I think what we would see is actually Bitcoin dominance headed up that way towards 70. And I think that there's a strong chance. I do think that that might and likely rests on whether or not the US actually does begin bidding a strategic Bitcoin reserve and puts that bid into the market. And then we would see, obviously, the likes of Saylor and company. Let me just come back to this thought in 1 second. And I want to open this up over here. And we'll come back to Ethereum because we want to get into Ethereum. But we have to talk about the inclusion of MicroStrategy coming into the triple Q. By the way, here at CTM, we trade the T triple Q. So a little inclusion of MicroStrategy into it. That we like volatility. It doesn't matter if it's going up or down. T triple Q, we only trade on the buy side. But if it's going down, by the way, MicroStrategy is not like solely dependent on whether the number go up on Bitcoin. You're talking really complex financial engineering and instruments. Like, careful. That's all unless you truly understand it. I don't know how many people really could. Maybe Saylor knows what he's doing. Maybe not. Just be careful. But right now in the near term, we're looking at MicroStrategy to join the NASDAQ 100. We expect net buying of at least $2.1 billion of shares by ETFs. And there you can see the 0.46% inclusion equaling to that $2.1 billion of new buying coming in. They're not the only ones, by the way. And I don't think this is retail when you're looking at Mara and they're buying another $1.1 billion of Bitcoin. That's not like 2 million. That's not 20 million. They're talking $1.1 billion, now holding $3.9 billion worth of spot Bitcoin. And looking good over here. We are seeing an increase in the rate of corporate Bitcoin buying. It is definitely accelerating. By the way, we saw another $438 million of bid into Bitcoin from the ETFs alone yesterday. I was coming back to that for a second, and it escaped me why. I was talking about the Bitcoin dominance over here. And, oh, by the way, as speaking of QT, if we do see, because we're getting close to the point in time where it seems that QT is going to stop. Once QT stops, if we run into any hiccups or bumps in the financial markets, which actually forces the Fed to start running the balance sheet the other way, which will be beneficial to risk. But in that window, that near term, like what Bitcoin has going for it in this particular moment is that if there is actual movement into strategic reserves by nation states causing nation state FOMO, that's going to be heavily favorable towards Bitcoin. If there's any trouble at this portion of the cycle in financial markets, that's going to be favorable towards Bitcoin as well. Is this alt season? I think this is the rising tide that lifts all boats. And I'm hoping here for a very, very, very prolonged market cycle. If that changes at any point in time, we will try our best to be there to stay on the right side. We have a strong track record of that. Let's get going. If at any point in time, I'm going to take away the breakdown. We did call the major sell impulse. They got very fuzzy in this area. and now very clean and easy. Breaking above here, that sends up obviously a black diamond buy impulse. Getting above the red, that would be a major occurrence on Ethereum, breaking out above that resistance that's never been pierced or broken before. A lot of people like to talk about the ultra sound money supply of Ethereum in relation to Bitcoin. You can see the inflation rate after the move to POS, proof of stake, is by far actually lower. I'm going to throw out there that it doesn't really matter. What? Doge, good old Dogecoin over here. Let's pull up a chart over here of Doge versus Bitcoin, just so we could see what it is we are talking about. And we could see that, we have the 2017 high. Doge was able in 2021 to make a higher high versus Bitcoin. And you could see over here since October, ever since the election or before the election, right into it, Doge is actually outperforming Bitcoin again. The inflation rate on Dogecoin, by the way, the max supply is infinite. The inflation rate on Dogecoin, I just want you to see this. The total supply today is 147 billion. If you go back 1 year ago earlier, it was 142 billion. That's the inflation. It's a $5 billion difference. That's the inflation rate on Doge. They're adding almost 5 billion of Dogecoins a year. Inflation rate of 3.46, comparing that to Bitcoin's 0.8, 0.14. So I'm just gonna throw out there that in the near term, and in the long term, I'm going to throw out there that likely the move to POS. Why I think and I believe that the move initially is very, very bullish. I really believe that, and I've stuck to that the whole bear market. This is the last tightening cycle, and the move versus Bitcoin versus Ethereum, and then this is the last this current tightening cycle, and I see massive compression. And to me, it looks like it's getting ready to eventually to blow out this way. And look, maybe we'll have talk once again of Ethereum flipping Bitcoin. Don't get so excited on strategic Bitcoin reserve coming out of the US. You might see easily, I'm still up for it, easily Bitcoin making another new high versus Ethereum for this tightening cycle. And again, that's not invalidated until we break out over here. Then the chances are that we're coming at least to test the resistance and then break above there. And then the low would have been in. But, or if we enter into some type of crisis, then that should favor Bitcoin as well. And I'm just kind of looking at this authentically. And I'm trying to say, by the way, Brave, their search is so much better. Here's Google search over here. And like they call it AI. It's not AI, obviously, you know that, right? They even call it AI overview. But if you search into Brave, this thing is, let me just try Doge so it just rewrites it. This thing is, I find it to be really, really, really useful if you're interested. All right, moving back towards Ethereum right now and zooming out on the weekly chart, looking at where we are since the top of the last market cycle. And Ethereum now, we looked at Ethereum versus Bitcoin, and it's coiled up really, really well. Also, I want to point out that Ethereum bottomed before Bitcoin. Ethereum has bottomed before Bitcoin. Bitcoin has since been outperforming. Bitcoin's outperforming Ethereum since the market top. But this isn't Ethereum's time to shine. Ethereum doesn't shine during the bear or the tightening cycle. Ethereum begins to make its moves afterwards. Whether or not, or what your feelings are on the proof of stake, just from a observation of the data, we could say that it seems to have been actually very bullish for Ethereum, in so much that it has really suppressed its drawdown versus Bitcoin during the tightening cycle. And when you look at this chart versus the dollar, right? I don't know the date, but I know that Ethereum against the dollar, it bottomed before Bitcoin. And then I continue to see whether or not I look all the way out over here. And I'm looking at this. This is a massive coil. This looks like a inverted head and shoulder. Here's the left shoulder. Here, by the way, it doesn't matter if you think that you're a Bitcoin maxi, or if you really believe you're a Bitcoin maxi, or you're just someone who's able to objectively consider markets and make investments that could help you either gain more fiat or gain more Bitcoin if you choose to stack. And by the way, holding Bitcoin since from 2021, January 2022 into today, was really a poor misuse of capital. So like the maxi chatter, it gets a little. And if you think you're more of a maxi than myself, who's onboarded and introduced more people to Bitcoin than you know, I think you're sadly mistaken. So anyway, what I guess I'm trying to say is, if you think that who brought up that term maxi? It was he used to work for Bitcoin Magazine. What's his name? Oh, Vitalik. Vitalik is actually the one who coined the term Bitcoin maxi. If you're embracing a derogatory term. Anyway, that's my little rant right now. Let me just jump back over here and look back at what's going on. And I'm looking at what looks like actually an inverted head and shoulders. You can see the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder. More importantly, look at the green line. We use this green line to know when we were breaking out. We had to break out, the retest, another test of it. That's a very healthy line. We want to continue to hold that area over there, coming in right now around 2,100. Looking above over here, I could see some resistance, horizontal resistance, right where that candle peaked out over here. We could see that's coming in right now, right around where price is right now. I should move it up to the market where it's focusing in on, around 4,100, 4,000, 4,100. And then we have the all-time high right around this way, 4,800. Now, I'm not into price targets, but I'm going to give I'm not into price targets at all, because we'll follow markets, and because many out there are not able to pivot as quickly as we are. A lot of people out there, when you put out an assumption of what you believe is going to happen, even if that's why Bitcoin's trading at $7,000, and you're like, I think during the next halving, it's going to trade between 55 and 130,000. And then you adjust that higher during the bull market as you're seeing this adoption rate continue. Tesla taking a Bitcoin position. MicroStrategy begins taking, not knowing that there's people out there, bad actors that are selling Bitcoin they don't have. FTX, other things out there. And being able to pivot is something that's essential to a trader and an investor. But not everyone is able to do that. That's true. So maybe it's a lot better for your price target to be like, I think that from here it's going lower, or from here it's going higher. Maybe that's the best you can do. Now, we try to be pretty accurate over here, and I want to give some good guidance. I want to have a little bit of fun and talk about actually what seems very reasonable that could transpire and happen during this cycle. But the thing about it, and what is different for me this time, is that I think that this cycle is going to look a lot different than previous cycles, in so much it has already. We made the all-time high on Bitcoin before the halving. It wasn't caused by the supply shock, and then 6 months after you see the halving. It wasn't caused by the supply shock, and then 6 months after you see a new all-time high. It was caused by adoption this time. That's different. I also see, after we broke above the 0.786, I see this very long consolidation. There was no consolidation here. We blew up. We kind of ended. We made a new all-time high. Over here, we consolidated and then swang up very, 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 very accelerated, very high. The consolidation this time is twice as long as this time. Do I think that we're going to go twice as high? No, I don't think on a percentage basis that would happen even all. Do I think that maybe it'll continue to be elongated and kick out further, and that likely the all-time high comes closer to the 2028 halving than it does over here to 2024? Absolutely. That's what I do believe. Yeah, they had the Polygon, they had the Attorney General of New York. There was millions of documents. The investigation went on for years. At the end of the day, they did, yeah, I would say more than audited. I would say it's probably been under the most scrutiny that and right now, obviously, Tether is in the habit of buying U.S. Treasuries, and is that a risk? I mean, I think they buy short-term duration paper, so I don't know how much of a risk it is, but you always have to wonder, as Tether is using U.S. Treasuries as their asset, if something were to happen. But likely what's happening because of that demand that's being brought about by the stable coins is the larger that the cryptocurrency market becomes, actually the more demand there is going to be for US treasuries. Is there going to be a time when Tether is the largest holder of US treasuries? That could happen. That could happen. But I remember forever, people are always worried about Tether. I think if we're worried about Tether, it's going to come in a different way than a lot of people know and understand. So just throwing that out there. So I do believe that this market has the potential, as we've hit the ultimate market opportunity and adoption continues to rapidly increase. It's no longer at first gradually, it's now and then suddenly. And yeah, there's a good chance that this begins to look more like S-curve adoption behavior rather than 4-year cycle behavior at right on time. And that's where we are. We've talked about, I just want to bring this up really quick because it pertains to what we're going to be talking about in a second as we get into on Ethereum. So you're looking at, first of all, Amazon, hype phase, facing reality phase, and then ultimate market opportunity. And one thing that's very interesting, if you were looking at Amazon and you were looking at it like from this perspective, and you thought like what you were seeing was 4-year cycle, and there's no doubt whatsoever that the halving of the miners reward significantly contributed to the boom and bust cycles of Bitcoin furthering adoption. No question about that. But if you were looking at this from that perspective, you would be saying to yourself, diminishing returns. Look at this. There's the first cycle, there's the second cycle, there's diminishing returns. And then you would be like, oh, that's exponential growth. I was really wrong about that. What's interesting about this, though, is that you look at this and I say, right, because this looks and reminds me of the Bitcoin chart. Before I go on, let me show you that Bitcoin chart so you understand what we're looking at, and then it's going to help make sense when we look at Ethereum right now, what I'm trying to illustrate. So I'm going to zoom in over here. Maybe I should come down to a weekly chart. All right. And then let me bring it down. So what's interesting is that a lot of people believe, this is all that you see, right? A lot of people believe, this is probably not the slide I want to show you, but so it doesn't matter. I don't want to confuse you. That's for a session to come. But most people believe that you're seeing an arc that looks like, not like that, right? An arc that looks something like this. Okay, I'll show you. Like this, right? Bitcoin decay and volatility, diminishing returns. The blue line is likely a good way to talk about that. You've seen it, diminishing returns. You've seen it a million different times before. So I hope that without me being able to pull up a slide, you get the picture. But when we just looked at Amazon, a funny thing happened was that as it hit the ultimate market opportunity, it wound up getting back into the top third over here. It didn't actually diminish down this way, right? So keep that in mind. As we look at Amazon right now, you're going to see that it actually winds up ending back towards the top from early hype phase behavior, and then the corridor below it. Let's take a look at that together really quick so we could see it together. And you can see like this is, all right, diminishing returns. Oh, wait. And then it ends up and walks all the way back towards the top third. That would be interesting if that happened to Bitcoin. I mean, that would be very interesting. That's something that I am watching for to see if indeed it does. But with this, let's move back and talk about Ethereum. This is what I want to show and illustrate for you. And we're talking about price targets and what they might potentially be. And I think the easiest one is that, well, I think that, listen, if you think that Bitcoin is going to peak in the first quarter of 2025, then Ethereum may or may not make another all-time high. I personally don't think that Bitcoin is going to peak for this cycle in the first quarter of 2025. And I don't think it's going to peak in 2025. And I don't think it's going to peak in 2026. Now, if at any point we have a technical breakdown, loud and clear for those that are paying attention, of course, I'm going to make it known. That's not okay. Something's wrong. If you're unable to change your own bias and adapt to it, I cannot help you. That's on you. You're completely responsible for yourself. We're here to look at things as objectively as we can without bias and help give ourselves the best awareness as possible. What I want to look over here is I'm going to make the assumption that Ethereum this cycle, just like Dogecoin was able to go ahead and make a new all-time high versus Bitcoin in 2021, that we're going to see Ethereum do the same. I'm going under the basis, not that Ethereum is ultra sound money. I actually believe the move to proof of stake ultimately will kill Ethereum, but I don't think that's going to be for a long time to come. And I think that in the near term, it was actually a very smart move. That's my own personal belief. Whether you embrace that or not, it doesn't matter. It is nice seeing finally since the election and a favorable crypto administration coming in, getting rid of Gensler and bringing in someone favorable towards crypto, to see Wall Street saying, I could get behind that. And now you're seeing flows coming into Ethereum. That's an important signal. If you think the ETFs don't matter, there's been a total of now of, what's the exact amount? Let's just pull it up really quick and we'll see. We're looking at now, oh my goodness, that number is getting higher and higher. Is that 33 billion? $34 billion of flows into the Bitcoin spot ETF. Now I get it. Nara's out there putting an extra billion in. Obviously, MicroStrategy continues to be on the bid, and we're seeing a bunch of retail, small corporate out there bidding it up. It all adds up together, but there's no doubt the ETFs and the flows into them matter a lot. Jumping back over here, taking a look at Ethereum, and I'm making the assumption here that Ethereum is able to break above the new all-time high, eventually versus the dollar, 4,800. Do I think it's going to be able to do it versus Bitcoin? I mean, maybe. I honestly do. I don't know what happens actually with Bitcoin. If a strategic Bitcoin reserve is actually from the US, becomes a reality, and then we begin seeing nation state FOMO, my opinion is that Bitcoin is going to make it back to a 70% dominance. And that might see Bitcoin versus Ethereum and all other putting in a world of hurting. Versus the dollar, though, these alts will continue doing some spectacular things. We're looking at Ethereum versus the US dollar. Let's go with, and just let me zoom out a little bit over here. Let me bring this up into our, so the structure we're looking at over here, if you see these upward sloping lines, is similar to the structure we look at Bitcoin, only it's unique towards Ethereum. I'm going to make this very simple. I'm going to go ahead and bold this line out over here so you can see it. We could work with it. This line that I'm showing you over here, I'm coming off of the two tops over here. This, what was the breakdown, and then it came in and it provided to be resistance, right? I have that level over there, and you can see it's the same slope as the channel that we're using. It's just the same slope as the channel, and it's focused in on that one area. I need to extend that out to the right. And again, my own belief is that the Bitcoin all-time high is going to come closer to 2008. So at the same time, and this might be a little tricky, so let me just do this as quick as I can while on the stream. Let me extend this channel out. Now, I don't think, this is my, look, I'm not into targets. I'm into trading what's happening, right? What does that look like on Bitcoin? Many different things. We don't need to talk about that right now. Thanks for that, Cassidy. Smashing the like button for CTM, for us being here, presenting, giving a different market perspective than you see everywhere else. And all we're trying to do is, in a methodical way, outperform the best and the greatest of all time. That's all we're trying to do. Absolutely making one of the most difficult things in the world accessible to everyone. I love it. I love being here with all of you. All right. So I think that there's a strong chance that Ethereum is able to do a similar thing that Bitcoin did. What is the similar thing that Bitcoin did? I don't think that Ethereum at this point in its life, as it's still in the facing reality stage, the move into proof of stake was a very vital thing for Ethereum right now in the life of Ethereum. And it's still just coming out of the facing reality. And why it's in the facing the reality, you now see competitors out there like Solana. That's a real threat to Ethereum. However, Ethereum's got some very entrenched network effects. And look, Bitcoin is ahead. It's ahead in its lifespan, right? Bitcoin was launched years before Ethereum. And Bitcoin right now is only making the jump over the chasm. The chasm is the facing reality stage. Whether or not this is going to make it to its ultimate market opportunity, Bitcoin right here, right now in 2024, fourth quarter of 2024, is jumping the chasm into the early majority. Ethereum has not done that yet. Ethereum still has challenges that it needs to face and overcome. And assuming that it's able to do that, we'll find out what happens. But I think that Ethereum has a strong chance of making it down to, by the way, here's that resistance line, what that looked like on Bitcoin. And you can see Bitcoin traded even above it and then into it, right? I don't think Ethereum makes it to the top this current cycle, and for the reasons I just explained about where it is on its life cycle. But I do think that once Ethereum breaks out to a new all-time high, that it has a very strong chance. And I'm just going to do one more thing over for you. I'm just going to go ahead and clone this line and bring it down over here like this. So into this pocket that pocket I just drawn, that for me is a reasonable price target for Ethereum. Now, what is different is you could say, well, by the end of 2025 or during 2025, you could say that looks like anywhere from 8,500 and sloping up to 11,000. And I'm using the lower band over here. The higher band's a little higher. The higher band is, just under 10,000 and then sloping up to just under 13,000. And if it doesn't tag it in 2025, and indeed Bitcoin, let's just pretend at some point in late 2026 or sometime in 2027, let's pretend the Fed returns to outright QE. And then Ethereum really, really, really catches a bit and takes off. Bitcoin, pretend, is not making its all-time high until closer to 2028. So let's say that we're in this area over here in the summer of 2027. That puts Ethereum potentially somewhere, between $16,000 and $18,000. If I were to give any type of speculation about what could happen, we don't have a believer. We'll find out over here. I know it's alt season. How many times did I hear it was alt season back past year? Yeah, I don't think that would be anything unusual and or unreasonable to see Bitcoin back at 70% dominance. We'll find out. Again, that is dependent on one of two things occurring. Either we see actual USA open up a Bitcoin strategic reserve setting off a massive. You heard of the arms race in the 80s between Russia and the United States, looking to build out the biggest nuclear stockpile. If it begins a similar thing, not just between Russia and the United States bidding for Bitcoin, but then you're seeing, obviously, Brazil's a BRICS nation. China's going to get in the game. England, UK is coming up to bid. You're right. France, Germany buying back their Bitcoin. Yeah, easily. And or if we see any turmoil in the markets, don't forget, altcoins do horrific when there's any type of liquidity crunch coming into the markets. We are getting closer to the point in time where we see reverse repo actually getting drained out over here. Let me just pull up a slide. And that likely begins or happens right after the next cut. You could see after the first cut over here, a sharp drainage. And then on the next cut, there's a good chance that we get down to zero. That could become a ticking time bomb. While we're here, just wanted to point out the chart we were looking at yesterday and jumping off. And I'm going to say, and we said ahead of time, if we're able to break out above and come this way, that's why the question mark was here. In my opinion, that could invalidate this potential Wyckoff distribution. That's in play right now. However, we're not out of the woods. I just want to, for a break above that trend line over there, it seems pretty clear with the 1, 2, 3, 4 touches into it. That would be the earliest potential signal looking for any type of correction to come into the markets. But we're coming up right now, actually, into an area, if I could get it exact, that looks like some potential resistance we have to work through. So a close above this upper trend line, that likely invalidates the whole Wyckoff potential distribution that we were looking for. And to make it simple and easy, a breakdown below this line, that would be the first and earliest opportunity of any correction coming into the markets. But this helps today after inflation coming in within expectation, and markets are forward looking into 2025. Likely a lot of these what have been entrenched core inflationary pressures are going to be alleviating a little bit. And the Fed, from the way that they interpret their data, is going to be able to kind of claim a little bit of victory. I think that's why the markets are really, really slamming today. Tesla, FNGU, let's just jump over. And we were talking about the triple Q and the inclusion into it of MicroStrategy, saying we trade the T triple Q. That now position is opening up over here, 9% into profit. This is like our little train that could, right? If you go back to 2020, the return, 870%, 14% draw. I mean, it's not bad. We talked about earlier what we're trying to do here, and that is in a mechanical way, be able to outperform the best of the best, period. T triple Q over here, if you look at what that annual return is, I mean, you're outperforming the best of the best. But I mean, truly, it is our weakest performer. It's extraordinarily solid, but our weaker performer. By the way, during that buy side only, during the whole bear market, you're just out one trade, out on the sidelines. So many people, so many friends and family told me that they saw their retirement accounts get drawn down during that year, and they were so upset. No one told them to get out of the markets. They had no idea. Nvidia here, outperforming, out on the sidelines right now, as Nvidia, by the way, is getting close. We looked yesterday. We've been tracking this. This was the first sell impulse. It came into the support. It bounced up into that sell impulse, and it held as resistance. Price come back down. Triggered yesterday. Another continuation. And we're into that line right now. A close above it really does begin to invalidate this. I want to just come down to a small time frame here. I just want to just get a look with you. We're talking about Nvidia for a second. And I'm just going to draw a line like this, right? Above this line over here, really above 142. that is going to invalidate all this pressure we have seen, and then potentially coiled up over here, maybe Nvidia could join the party as well. FNGU is currently holding a massive position over here. It's not massive. It's a big position, 44% in unrealized profit. Its largest gain has been 131%, but this is towards, an outsized gain. There's no doubt about it. It's our best performer, FNGU. Let me see what year we're looking at over here. 2021. Tesla and Nvidia neck and neck. I mean, FNGU and Nvidia neck and neck. And then Tesla over here is actually the best performer, and now finally regaining the reins over here, as Tesla is also holding ever since the election a 44% open position. Betting against Elon. There's talk out there that Bill Gates has a massive short position for a long time versus Tesla. I hope he gets absolutely wrecked if that is true and it is the case. But right now here, current administration, Elon helped get the president elected with the shout out to the Amish. Beautiful stuff over here. And then we're seeing some real, you never know when is going to be the ones that push, right? Because the win rates, 68% is kind of high. Tesla, 33%. You never know what's going to be the one that continues to hold. Why we're looking at positioning, and before we get back into Ethereum, let me just jump back over and talk about what's going on over here with our positioning. So we saw on Bitcoin right now, Bitcoin bull market holding an open position, 54%. We saw on Bitcoin, we see BTC 108 entering the market just a little early, about an hour ago. And then you're seeing BTC 107 still on the sidelines, not biting yet. And then also we looked at earlier in this week, performance of all our Bitcoin templates, trying to find out which one. Not a very easy thing to discern, but BTC 101 on the buy side, 8-hour time frame, which on the buy side is the best performer, is also on the sidelines with BTC 107 right now. We are seeing Cardano, which was, we talked about how it gives back profit, continuing to hold that trade, looking to continue to push it. And we see that in comparison. So we just looked at stock gains on the daily time frame. Here's Bitcoin gains from the same period. So that's on par with Nvidia and FNGU. You look at, let me just check the year, 2020, Ethereum. Hey, I'm a Bitcoin maxi. I don't think that you should trade anything versus the dollar. God forbid you stack more Bitcoin. 26,000% over here. Cardano since 2020. Boom. 70,000%, 20% drawdown. Look at this though. This is since the 2022. This is since the bear market. Cardano up 593%, holding an open position 191%. You do the math. All right. Solana's a newbie, just added into this. So Ethereum, if you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button and you like being here, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. I love being here with all of you for sure. That's my projection on Ethereum. What would be very bad on Ethereum? You could see this channel we have over here. I know that's only a one touch, but you could see that there was a touch over here, a touch over here, right? I kind of have over here a lighter line just below it. You should extend that out, put that up to the right. Oh, there's a whole channel. Yeah, I like it better off. You got to be a little bit of an artist. Just for now. I guess what I'm trying to say to myself is I want to include that line over there because that's an important line. But this line is also very important. The resistance, here it was a support, flipped to resistance, 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 broke above support, support. That's a very important line, along with the sloping in this area. Breaking below in that line over here, that would be a bad breakdown for Ethereum. That's something I would say, regardless of what my expectations were. Jordan said that we could see something like in 2025, something like $8,000 to $10,000 Ethereum. And then he said in 2027, something like the high end, right? That's the high end. If we were to mimic that Bitcoin behavior and not get to the top of the channel, come in towards the lower tag, that's something we could see on Ethereum. For price targets, we're giving what would be our elevator price targets. If you're looking for a lower price target and this support ever here gets to hold, you could say at the same time, in the summer of 2027, yeah, we might see something like $4,300 Ethereum, maybe $3,800 Ethereum. If it's in a bear market, that's easily could happen. That's well within range. But if we break down here at any point in time, that would be concerning for me. Then I would say, that's a major technical breakdown. That's not bull market behavior, and we're correcting lower. That could come into the lower end of this trench over here. That is almost $1,000 Ethereum. All right, everyone. Gates said he wanted to short Bitcoin. Can you imagine he was short Bitcoin and short Tesla? That would have been the best. That would have been truly, truly poetic. There you go. I love this. TA is for fun. We try to be the best at it anyway. There's no doubt, and it's kind of cool because we don't it's all unique to CTM the way we go about viewing it. So other people aren't using this, but they are. People are really appreciative. Peter, Game of Trades, has talked about how the way that we view market structure and TA has helped influence his own. That's what we want to do. We want to make the most people here the best versions of themselves. Everyone. That's James. I don't know who would hold the keys. That's a good question. But the US government has a very good track record of being able to hold keys, nuclear codes, right? When you're talking about the US government, and if it were, maybe, I don't know, right? But the capability is there. And obviously that would be something. I hope they don't just hold it at Coinbase, Everyone, have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful day. I hope you enjoyed this session. If you did on your way out, do hit the thumbs up. Comment below if you're watching this on the replay. Everyone, God bless you. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you all tomorrow.